Dr. Julie,
Hi.
wow, that was incredible.
Oh, that was so fun. I was like, this is it.
Thank you so much for being so gracious and let me interrupt you so much. Normally, I don't interrupt that much, but you were just saying stuff that I could totally resonate with and relate to and get behind. And it was just one of the most dynamic conversations I have had so far. What did you think about the topics that we brought up? How we kind of tried to fold it into, today's historic event of the election without, going overly political and stay on topic. What did you think?
I really liked it. I have to be honest. I was so nervous before we started because um, I think like we always have to be careful about our communication and our conversations. And I just, I'm a religious person. So I was like praying, I'm like, please let my words like be experienced as they're intended. And it was just, it was so comfortable, but it's also important to talk about, yes, here's this historic event. But I think when you politicize things too much for some people, it automatically shuts them off. And so I wanted to make sure that everybody was feeling like represented in, okay, like even if I voted Trump, like now how do I walk into the workplace, right?
Yeah.
I understand that that's sort of tense because it's like, do we really want to play into everyone's ego?
Mm-hmm.
But if we want to have inclusive environments, we do. We have to think about how everyone's going to feel.
I agree with you that I'm religious too, and I did not want to politicize the conversation. So, as a matter of fact, depending on what the topic is, I will always say at the beginning of a podcast, this is not politically or religiously based. So let's get that out of the way right away. And when you brought up politics and when you specifically said Trump, I was like, oh, I hope people don't, go with this, in a totally, way that it wasn't intended, but it was appropriate for the discussion. And, when I do these podcasts, I remind people these discussions are not to sway you one way or another, but to broaden your perspective so that when you're thinking about these, you've got other data points that you can bring into your process, whatever your process looks like. Yeah. And this really was a phenomenal discussion. What would you have done differently? What did you like? What do you think worked?
Differently. I would have worried less, which is like a life moniker. No, I really liked it. I think it was really like the conversation flowed. I actually appreciated the moments of interruption and clarification because I really like to hear like how are other people thinking about these topics. There were some where I was like, what would you do, right? Like, and I thought we can go back to that at some other time, but I'm always curious on how other people experience this. I will say this is the most ever that I've publicly talked any variation around politics. And I really, so very transparently, my family is mostly incredibly conservative. I understand their viewpoints. I understand where they come from. But for me, a lot of what I was talking about too are like, these are things that I'm doing in my own life. These are things that I have to negotiate. And these are conversation points that are important to me. And so I appreciate you keeping and like maintaining a safe space. And I felt so comfortable.
Well, I intentionally titled this Real Conversations with Dr. Anita because I want it to be a real conversation, which is why, even though I might come up with these are 3 points that I want to make, this isn't scripted. We don't rehearse. I think that I spent more time with you talking up front about what I had in mind for the show than I have with anyone else, because to your very right point, I was still trying to frame what it was that I'm feeling, and the best frame that I could come up with was hidden organizations. Yeah. And I think that the fact that you clarified for us what that means at a different level versus how I'm defining it at the level that I wanted to discuss it was huge. It was hugely important. And the amount of time that we spent talking just only made the conversation better for me and for the listening audience. So thank you so much for the extra time that we invested to make sure that the messages that I wanted to deliver to the audience, as well as the messages that you wanted the audience to understand, were interwoven into a very rich conversation that mattered. So thank you, Dr. Julie.
Thank you. And if you have to edit anything out, I also understand that.
Are you kidding? There's no editing on these shows. There's no rehearsals and there's no editing. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a real conversation. So
Right.
make that idea. But before I forget, I have to deliver a hello from Sade and from Eloy. They said, Dr. Taylor's awesome. She's been my professor. She's just the best. Oh, you guys are going to have the best show. And I'm like, I know. We've spoken a couple of times. So hello from Sade and Eloy.
They're so wonderful.
Aren't they amazing?
They are. They're just both wonderful. And I feel like whenever I engage in conversations with them, it's time just flies by. And I think that's what a great experience we get to have as humans, right? Although I'd love to be my dog, I would miss conversations with amazing people. So
I have to share something with you, then I'll let you go. The other day I was on my walk, and usually that's my prayer time, right? And I was watching the birds, I guess they were swans or pelicans. I don't know. It's hard to tell from a distance. But I was watching them just kind of swim in the water. And I'm thinking, you know what, Lord, you said that, the birds of the air, they don't toil. They have their nests. Pretty much all I have to do is feed themselves. And I got to thinking, you know what, God, in this current state where I am today, how come you couldn't make me a bird? Life would be so much easier. And very clearly he said, because we wouldn't have the relationship that we have if you were a bird. Right. So I hear what you're saying about, sometimes you wish you had the life of your dog, but look at what we would have missed out on with our maker.
Oh, it's so true. I love that.
Yeah.
I'm so thankful. I'm really thankful for this opportunity. I so respect what you're doing, and I was so in awe of our first conversation that I was like, I want this to be good for her. so I'm glad that it went well.
Well, I told my crew, the Insanity Check crew, I said, I got to meet with Dr. Taylor. I said, trust me, this will not be our last conversation. So I'm telling you now, Dr. Julie Taylor, this will not be our last conversation.
I love that. I would look forward to any interaction with you. This was really wonderful.
And back at you, my sister. We're going to figure out something to do that is going to impact the world. Yes?
I love it. Yes, I do.
Have a wonderful weekend, Dr. Taylor. And as soon as the links are ready, I will send them to you. This right here is going to be our after show, because I have noticed that once I've done a broadcast and I close it out, some of the best conversations happen after the show. Yeah. So this is going to be a bonus broadcast, just so you know.
Oh, I love it.
Okay, great. Enjoy your husband.
Thank you. Enjoy your weekend. I hope it does. Well, I mean, actually in California, I hope we get some rain.
The sun actually just came out. It was pouring like crazy, like about an hour before you and I got on the air. And one of my crew members, she literally jumped because she felt like the lightning was going to come through her window. It was that fierce.
Oh,
so
wow.
It's sunny skies now, and I hope it stays. I need to go out to Riverside to visit my mom. But now you're not in Southern California? I thought you were.
I am. So I'm over, I'm in LA County.
Okay. And it's not rained out there yet?
It was raining this morning, not super hard, but it was a little bit. And I was like, oh, this reminds me of home. Like, I like the smell of rain. It's so clean, and it's, so we had all the windows open, and I was like, great.
Well, enjoy walking your dog when it lightens up a little bit so you can take in all that clean air.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful weekend.
You too, Dr. Julie. Bye.
Take care.